Robert Scott Bell.
All right, cranking up this hour of the Robert Scott Bell Show with more from AutismOne. We got a mom and a son together, and the website, allnaturalmomof4, the number 4 it is, .com. And that is Sheri Davis and her son Cody are joining me here on the Robert Scott Bell Show. Sheri, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks
Cody?
for having us.
Yeah, hi.
How you doing? You ever done radio before?
No.
No, you're awesome already. I can tell. He's a natural. You're 14. And Sheri, your son Cody, at one point, you told me before, it was, would you say, severely in the ADHD scenario? It wasn't an autism diagnosis. It was more ADHD.
No, he
right?
was classic ADHD.
Okay.
Just running everywhere, couldn't sit still, just constantly touching kids next to him, extremely impulsive, tons of energy. In preschool, his teacher wrote on his report card, red flags for ADHD in big red letters.
Red flag. So, we've talked about the fact that many school systems will kind of rush the parents to say, hey, put little Johnny or little Cody on an ADHD medication. Like, he has a methylphenidate deficiency. You know what methylphenidate is?
No.
It's a PMP, but it is also known as Ritalin.
Okay.
You've heard of Ritalin, right?
They say,
take
it.
You know your friends take it?
Yeah.
I've heard that, and I don't want you to ever do this, but they take them and crush them and snort them. I mean, it's crazy what's happening out there with this drug because it alters the mind. It's amphetamine. Now, in your experience, did you go through the allopathic medical route at first and say, okay, we don't know what to do, let's give him some medication, see what happens?
No, that wasn't even an option for me. He was 4 years old, so, and I had him at home, so I was already on that natural path.
Okay.
So for me, it wasn't even an option. So I had heard another mom mention hyperactivity and dyes, that she had linked that to her kids' problems. So I went online and I typed in hyperactivity and dyes, because I had no idea that dyes could cause hyperactivity. I had no clue. And up popped the Feingold diet. So I'm like, okay. So I looked into that. And for about 6 months, we removed just dyes, and that did help.
Okay.
We noticed a difference, but he was still off. He was still hyper, still some of the same symptoms, just a little bit less.
Right.
So then I decided to just go ahead and join Feingold, because at the time it was $75, and I thought, I can read labels myself.
What is Feingold, a deli? What is it? Let everybody know.
It's the Feingold Association. Dr. Feingold in the 70s did research and discovered that kids who remove dyes, artificial flavors, and certain preservatives, the preservatives BHT, TBHQ, and BHA, and removed foods that are high in salicylates. Yeah. So things like tomatoes, berries, grapes, all the things that you think are great for your kids.
Some kids don't respond well to that. Yeah.
Right. Some kids can't metabolize the salicylates, usually because of leaky gut or because of low PST enzymes in their systems.
Right.
So Feingold, the association, they formed a membership or an association where they research all of the foods and they find out which foods don't have the dyes, artificial flavors, and the preservatives.
So they give you some good guidance there.
Yeah, they give you a whole shopping guide of a food list that tells you. So it's easy. You can just go there because some of these ingredients are hidden.
Right, sure.
Right, like BHT can be sprayed on the bags of like cereal, and they're not going to list that on the box. But that's seeping into your foods and
Very
causing
good point.
these symptoms.
Yeah, these subtlety. Now, talk to me briefly again. At 4, ADHD, you said intense. How soon after you started pulling the dyes out again that you saw changes in his behavior?
2 days.
2 days, so very quickly.
Yes, that's when we started the Feingold diet. So that's when we pulled everything, the dyes, artificial flavors, preservatives, and high salicylates.
Okay.
Within 2 days, he was a completely different child. Everyone else noticed it, too. I said he could be the poster child for Feingold because it was so dramatic.
Did his teacher say, oh, you've put him on Ritalin, thank you?
No, he was in preschool for the first semester. I had pulled him out. This was before we started Feingold because I was like, I think he's going to get kicked out of preschool.
Right.
So I kind of just kept him home for a semester. The next year, I put him back in school. Actually, in kindergarten, it was a different school. The teacher, I told her, we sat through a parent-teacher conference. She had not one negative thing to say about him. Just everything was positive. So at the end of it, I said, last year his preschool teacher told me that she saw red flags for ADHD. Yeah. And she said she saw no signs of ADHD. Nothing. And we didn't either.
Right.
I mean,
this sounds like, I don't know if you guys have seen the video online of this study that was done, 2-week study. Family, I think this is one of the Scandinavian countries. They all eat conventionally grown food, pesticide-laden food, and they took urine samples of the mom, the dad, the kids, and everything to test levels, and high levels of stuff coming out. And then they switched them to organic, took the levels every day. By 2 weeks, and the kids especially, undetectable pesticide levels coming out.
Wow.
Yeah, almost
I
nothing.
didn't know you could clear it that fast.
Well, and I said this because they don't go into that. I said there's probably, I know there's bioaccumulation in there that hasn't, but the fact of the matter is the ongoing exposure, by eliminating it, drop that fast. So you're dealing with the acute, always incoming. I'm sure Feingold addresses some of this as well. But this was specifically focused on pesticides that they could measure. And I've said go organic, or grow your own. Do something to get the inflow of these inflammatory, toxicological burdens from coming in, so your body can start the healing processes. And even removing, as you said, BHT, certain preservatives, already gives your body like a tenfold response to say, oh, okay, one less poison. Okay, let's take that energy and do something positive with it. And you saw the improvement very rapidly.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're talking with Sheri Davis and Cody, and her website, allnaturalmomof4.com. That's the number 4. We've got it linked up in the show notes at robertscottbell.com. I got to ask you, Cody, the switch to diet. I mean, obviously you're 4. It's not like you're now at 14 if mom was saying you got to switch your diet so much. But obviously she's raised you differently than probably many of your friends in terms of cleanliness of food. And how do you deal with that interaction? My kids have to deal with this as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when I was 4, I remember I missed mozzarella sticks and stuff, and being able to eat that. And just a bunch of McDonald's and other stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And it was really frustrating to not be able to eat that when I could see all my friends eating that and everything. Mm-hmm. But eventually I just kind of got used to it, and I was just I don't even want the stuff they're eating anymore because it's so gross and processed and all that.
Yeah. A lot of time, the desserts that I would send to school and stuff, the other kids want what my kids are having.
Oh, yeah. No.
Because they're just funner looking, or something.
Well, it's like the kids at school. I asked my wife, when they have a birthday, can you bring those organic cupcakes that she makes? They're the best. And it's all, some of the real food we all identified growing up, but happens to be of cleaner quality.
Right.
None of the pro-inflammatory components necessarily in that way. I remember meeting and interviewing Russell Blaylock. He wrote Excitotoxins, The Taste That Kills, and many others about these excitotoxins coming in, these additives, even at parts per million, devastating to these children and adults. And that simply, again, by removing them, it's not rocket science necessary to figure this out. And eventually, we give kids like Cody and my kids the opportunity to learn, because I don't know if you've ever tried to sneak, you can tell me, she's not listening, out back to the drive-thru when she's not looking, and what happens. I don't know if you've ever kind of cheated a little bit. Yeah. Can you tell me how your body reacts to that?
Now not so much. I can go off the Feingold diet a little bit and I'll still be fine, just because I have a cleaner gut and just overall health is better now. Mm-hmm. But back maybe when I was 7 or so, and if I went off the diet just a little bit, I'd have a reaction, and I would get all the ADHD symptoms back, mm-hmm. and kind of act like I did when I didn't have the Feingold diet.
But what kind of signs does your body give you if you eat something wrong now? I mean, your body's going to tell you stuff because you're much cleaner. Mm-hmm. So what would it say?
Sometimes I'll get a headache, or just generally sick. Mm-hmm. It's mostly headaches, so I'll just get headaches sometimes.
But you're not looking at it as an aspirin deficiency, are you? Right? Oh, man, I didn't take my aspirin today. That's why I have a headache, right? Yeah. I know it's silly to say it, but think about this. This is how people are programmed in our culture to grow up. We see moms and dads typically, oh, you got an ache, take a drug, right? And so we learn, we teach our kids this. You're growing up and saying, oh, I got a headache. I wonder what was in the food. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it's what did I eat?
My kids, too, give them the opportunity to screw up once they're clean enough to understand the relationship to the quality of food that comes in. And you become your own rocket scientist, PhD in nutrition, because your body doesn't lie. But if you're always on that food, you're always ADHD, you're always having these symptoms, you don't know what from anything. So there's the feedback loop, the communicate, it's not there, and you don't give kids the opportunity to learn that their bodies are smarter than the PhD scientists, right? Isn't that cool?
Yep.
You have a PhD in your own body.
Yeah. He's been learning a lot this week, too. He's been going to some of the presentations here at AutismOne.
Awesome.
So he's liked it.
Anything that jumped out at you and said, wow, that was really cool. I want to learn more about that.
Dr. Klinghart's speech was really good. He talked about, how important melatonin is, and, you need melatonin before you can, use glutathione to clear yourself of heavy metals to heal from, vaccine injuries and stuff. And that was just interesting to find out.
Wait. You said you're 14. You said glutathione. There's something wrong here.
He knows about glutathione.
Mom, what are you doing?
We used to do the glutathione gel on the back of their small of their backs.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yep.
I love this. This is so fun. This is so much fun. So you're, like I said, you're way smarter than a fifth grader and a sixth grader. So, and most of your teachers, you know stuff they don't know. You realize that.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that without getting in trouble?
I do get in trouble sometimes. They're like, I remember in like 5th grade, we had a birthday, one of my friends, and I told the teacher, I was like, hey, you shouldn't feed them this stuff, and I told her something about Feingold, and she pretty much just like ignored me and told me like I was just like,
get out of here, kid. You're bothering me, right?
Yeah.
I joke with my kids. I was like, you're just a kid. You don't know. And of course, they're like, Dad, you taught me. Come on.
Yeah.
Of course I know. I think it's very cool that you got a mom that has done this.
I'm really lucky.
Yeah. It's like, in this, I mean, we always can complain a little bit about mom. It's just what we do as kids, right? But at the same time, what you're learning now is preparing you for a world that many of my peers even today, but more, when I was growing up, completely unconscious about this, gives you an opportunity to help others genuinely when they're ready. I mean, you don't want to beat them over the head with the Feingold diet or anything else, but you want to be there. You don't want to be silent all the time either. I mean, if you see something, you can find a way to communicate, and that's part of the learning process, how and when to talk and not get beaten, back, because you're sensitive to where people are at.
Right. Yeah, that's why I like Feingold. It's a good foundation and like a start off to people that they'd have no idea they're just eating all the foods that they think are healthy for their kids.
Yeah.
It's a great starting point.
Well, you guys are awesome. Really appreciate and enjoy you. I hope we stay in touch. Sheri Davis,
definitely.
Cody, we've got the links up to your website as well. And tell your friends this is the place for health, freedom, and healing liberty.
Yeah, and then also I just wrote a book called All Natural Mom's Guide to the Feingold Diet. And I wrote this book because I'd been blogging about Feingold for a few years, and mostly because I had never heard of the Feingold diet when my son was 4. And because of such a dramatic change that I saw in him, I just wanted everyone to know about it. So I started blogging about it, and then my second child ended up having high-functioning autism. So we kind of moved on.
Non-vaccinated.
Right, she's never been
vaccinated. We talked off the air a little bit of internal mercury burden. Again, everybody's ability to methylate different, so might have been impacted as a second child, huh? Interesting.
Yes. I have one mercury filling, and then I was vaccinated, of course, growing up, got the MMR at 16, so I know I passed on quite a bit to my kids. But interestingly, each of my kids, I cleaned up my diet and supplements and started taking care of myself better, did GFCF. My 4th child has no issues. Okay. My 3rd child suffers from seizures, so they kind of progressively got a little bit better as I started cleaning up everything, you know. But yeah, so I started blogging about GFCF supplements, DAN doctors, different stuff like that. But I just kept getting email after email after email about the Feingold diet and people wanting to know how they can keep their kids off ADHD meds and just an alternative to that. So I started going back to Feingold, and then I decided to just put together a book so that people, just to give a good overview of how to do the Feingold diet, what it's about, and then just sharing our experience with it as well, our personal story.
Yeah, and Cody, not holding you to this, but do you sense that you want to go into the sciences, to doctoring, to nutrition? It's an interesting upbringing. You're just going to be, I'm sick of this, Mom. I don't want to go into it. But what are you sensing at this age? I know, again, almost 15, so I won't hold you to it.
I really have no idea what I want to do right now, but
good answer.
Either way, I'm definitely going to keep on keeping up with Feingold and just a generally healthier lifestyle because of all the stuff I know about nutrition and everything. And everything I've been learning here at AutismOne.
Yeah, he went to the keynote, which was about vaccines.
Right.
And he says, I'm never vaccinating my kids.
Yeah, I was so
that
excited.
I will hold you to, my friend.
I will too.
I will hunt you down and find you if you forget that, okay?
Yeah.
Now, are you doing any athletics as well?
I play track, and I'm looking into playing soccer next year.
Okay, awesome. So that means you're entering 9th grade?
10th grade.
10th grade, going into 10th.
Sophomore.
Wow, okay, so same as my son. All right, so exactly same. That's really cool. So in the area that you're in, I'm really excited to know about you and to know, that you're actually what I consider bright lights in your community. And, of course, outreaching beyond that with your book, of course, right here, right now on the Robert Scott Bell Show. Your message is an important one. And I just want to remind everybody that even if it's one thing, it's better than zero things, right? Everything you can do will pay you back. Right.
That's what I stress in my book. It's like, even if you can't join Feingold, there's definitely things you can do to make better choices in food. And just having that knowledge of knowing, like, dyes could cause all these issues and all these different other additives as well.
Cody, any message for all our other teenage listeners? Because they're there. It's weird. I know. Why do they listen to a health show? But we have a good time here. We rock the health world. So,
I guess to just make sure that you, like, keep telling people about it and not, like, keeping silent and, like, spread the information around.
Speak out.
Yeah.
Speak out.
Make sure people know about that.
Except in class when your teacher says, don't you dare, right?
But when he was in first grade, he asked me, he's like, Mom, can I make little business cards of Feingold and hand them out to the moms when they pick up their kids?
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
Because he wanted everyone else to know and to do it.
Listen, it's an interesting thing, Cody, to know what you know at this age, to be in an environment where most people don't.
Yeah.
And it's a gift. At the same time, it can be a curse because you want to be able to tell everybody. And not always is it accepted, welcome, lovingly, knowingly. And sometimes you're up against the world. So just, ride it out. Let go of those things. If there's any backlash, just let it roll off you like the water on a duck's back and keep on, because the people that are ready for it are there for you. And eventually those folks that aren't, they'll come back around.
Right.
I appreciate you too.
Okay.
And say hi to the rest of the family. And we'll get the rest of them on eventually. And you guys keep putting that message out there. Everybody read the book. Of course, we have it linked up in the show notes. All Natural Mom's Guide to the Feingold Diet.
Yep.
The website, allnaturalmom4. That's the number 4.com. And it's linked up in the show notes at robertscottbell.com. So stick around. Lots more healing to go.
The Robert Scott Bell Show.